Hey everyone, it's Owen here from OTech, and today we'll be unboxing something very exciting, which is the Radeon RX 580 Nitro Plus Limited Edition from Sapphire. Now, I got these for my own build, and I'm very excited to try them out. So let's get on with the unboxing, shall we? So this is basically the fastest RX 580 you can buy, the fastest Polaris chip board partner card you can buy. Since this is the Nitro Plus edition, which is from Sapphire, and that's already a high-end card with a powerful VRM and stuff like that, and it is also the limited edition one. And the limited edition is basically Sapphire doing a GPU binning process, so just choosing the best overclocking chip and using it on the Nitro Plus limited edition cards. Whereas the normal Nitro Plus cards just get the random GPU that they got off the AMD production line. So yeah, this is very exciting. I kind of really want to try this, and I mean I've seen reviews of this card already, and it says that it's a power hog, but I mean that makes a lot of sense considering this card is extremely overclocked. It's running at 1450 megahertz on stock boost. I mean, you don't see RX 480s going that high even fully overclocked, so this is pretty insane. And yeah, it still has a 2-year warranty, so those kinds of overclock speeds, and it still has a good warranty, so this has got to be good. And yeah, I mean, what else can I say? I guess we can just take a look at the box. The Sapphire Nitro mascot picture robot thing, gunmetal finish. So yeah, it's gunmetal finish is kind of like a gray finish instead of the normal black finish that you see on other Sapphire cards, RX 580 and whatever new features AMD has. And yeah, the box is not the most interesting thing, I admit, especially for a special limited edition product and a very uber high-end RX 580. But anyways, we'll just take a look inside and take a look at the card itself next. So obviously, as usual, you get your typical brown box. Not very interesting, so let's just take a look inside, and boom, immediately you get greeted by the card itself. And I have to say, this is one of the most best looking card I've ever seen. And yeah, you can see right away that it's a gunmetal finish like they said, and you know, I would have liked some kind of protective anti-static plastic on the card itself, but I'm pretty sure that these types of foams are already anti-static, so that's not a big deal, and it just lets you get a first look at the card immediately, so that's just a kind of cool thing. And yeah, here it is. So this is a pretty heavy card. It has 2 fans. As you can see, these are about 90 or 100 millimeter fans, and it has a massive heatsink. So yeah, Sapphire has revamped the heatsink on the 500 series from the 400 series, because you know, they've got complaints that the 400 series 480s and 470s aren't cool enough, so they kind of went overkill, and now it's like freaking heavy compared to the old cards. Because as you can see from the side here, you can see the heatsink fin arrays right from the end, and it's like super thick and it covers the whole thing. And you know, basically now the fins just extend to the whole length of the diameter of the fans, where before it was kind of a bit short on that, and it wasn't really cooling the card good enough for, you know, extremely overclock usage. And you know, speaking of extremely overclock, you can see that Sapphire has gone ahead and put 2 power connectors, one 6-pin and one 8-pin, which is a bit insane and overkill for an RX 480, but you know, this lets them use the power connectors just to power the GPU itself. So the GPU VRM is going to draw all its power from here, and with those 2 connectors, there's no way you're going to overload it. So it's still going to stay in spec all the time. And you can see that it has a really nice backplate. I mean, I would have liked for some etching of like a limited edition thing over here, or like a different logo or a different color scheme compared to the normal Nitro Plus. But I mean, it looks good enough already. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the outside looks. I mean, another thing is that the fans are completely removable. So you see that one screw over there, and yeah, there's the accessories, but this time it's not as interesting. I mean, you know, when you're unboxing a limited edition extremely overclocked RX 580, you kind of just want to get into the card straight away. But yeah, here it is. You also got these transparent fans. These are blue LED fans, and they're the same fans, same performance and RPM and everything, but it's just they add style points, you could say, to your GPU, since you know, if you wanted if you're doing a blue build anyways, these would mesh really nice, but they give you the option of just using the black fans in case that doesn't fit. So yeah, here it is. The way to use those fans is basically unscrewing one of the screw there, just one screw, and the fan basically just pops off and you can put in the new fan. So it also helps when the fan breaks and you need to fix it. You don't really need to RMA it, you can just contact Sapphire and they'll send you a new one right away and you can install it yourself. And yeah, you know, this card is pretty extreme. You can see it's more than 2 slots thick, kind of like a bit taller on the top part because of the back plate, and also a bit taller on the front part, on the bottom part, because of the extended shroud to house the thicker fins and also the thicker fans. Yeah, I mean, the fans are legitimately thick. They're kind of like case fans instead of like dinky GPU fans, which are like super thin. So this is a really good fan and heatsink design, and it does perform really well from what I've seen. And I've actually tried this card already, and you can see that I removed one screw, which is kind of in the way. When I put it in my PC, it hits the RAM slot. It's just kind of like a really odd situation with my PC, but yeah, so I removed that and it fits fine. And yeah, you can see the Sapphire logo over here. It's also RGB, so you can change it to whatever you want using the Sapphire RX software. And also got a BIOS switch, and the BIOS switch is basically just the normal BIOS, which is 1411 megahertz on the left, which they call the silent BIOS, which is basically on all RX 580 Nitro Plus cards. And they also got the boost BIOS, which is the 1450 megahertz on the Nitro Plus limited edition card. So you just flick it to the right and it goes to maximum boost, and it does use more power and it's a bit noisier and it's a bit hotter, but it is faster then. And you know, when you're buying a card like this, you shouldn't really expect silence and everything. You should just expect maximum performance out of the given GPU over here. Although this card isn't noisy by any means from what I've tested it, so yeah, it should be fine. It's pretty quiet in my opinion. You can just hear a slight whooshing sound, but yeah, that's for the look of the card itself. The card looks pretty nice. I really like the looks, and you know, that's pretty much it for the outside looks. But you know, there's another surprise waiting for you guys, because I actually got 2 of them, and this one I've taken apart. So we're gonna take a closer look at the GPU with it taken apart, and also the cooler design as well. So this is kind of a unique unboxing, but that's just because I had time to open it, and also because Sapphire doesn't void the warranty when I opened it like other brands. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So here's the PCB itself. It's got the 2 power inputs, and you can see that Sapphire actually uses fuses on their cards. So these are 120 watt fuses, something amps, I forgot, but 10 amps I think. Yeah, 10 amps, 12 volts, so 120 watts. And you know, 2 of those, 240 watts for this, 120 watts for this. Kind of too low for the 8-pin, because you know, realistically that thing can handle way over 300 watts. Like on the extreme overclocking EVGA power boards, they just use a couple 8-pins and they draw like a few hundred watts, almost 1000 watts from the card, and that's just fine. And you also got another fuse over here, which is kind of high for a PCIe slot. I mean, 120 watts from there is kind of insane, but you know, you wouldn't even reach that because it's just basically connected to the memory and auxiliary VRM. And here's the VRM, main VRM for the V core itself, and it's got 6 phases. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and these are, you know, integrated MOSFETs and the high side and low side. So just one single chip instead of a separate 2-chip design. And these basically can handle 300 watts total. So you shouldn't really be blowing these up anytime soon. And the temperature rating is 125 C, so it should last quite a while and be fine. especially because this card also has backplate cooling. If you can see, oh, it's kind of stuck right now. Oh, yep, backplate cooling. So the backplate actually has a raised portion, or there's a metal bit to raise it, and it extends and actually hits the part where there's a thermal pad connecting it to the VRM area over here. So it should perform pretty well, and the temperature should be pretty good for the VRM. It shouldn't ever hit 125 degrees Celsius, you know, especially on normal scenarios and just air overclocking. Especially also because the cooler also contacts it, you know, the main cooler, which I'll show in a second. So here's the main cooler itself. It's pretty large, and you can see how the contacts for the VRMs are. There's 6 tiny thermal pads which are placed over here, and these connects to these MOSFETs and cools them off, and also the backplate, so those shouldn't get really hot and those shouldn't hit their 125 degrees temperature limit. And you know, you can see that the heatsink is also quite substantial compared to the previous Nitro cards from Sapphire. So there's a large aluminum heatsink and also 4 heat pipes, and this time Sapphire is using way larger heat pipes than before on the top 2, and also another 2 heat pipes on the bottom to help move the heat over here and also around here. And there's also a base plate where it contacts the memory and cools it off, so it's not just air cooling for the memory, so that's really nice. Should keep everything nice and cool. And you know, from my own testing, early testing, and also other reviews, it really does work, and this is also a really cool and silent running card, and it does overclock pretty well considering it's on air cooling, because the heatsink is quite massive, and you can see that it's basically kind of like almost 2 120mm CPU air coolers kind of smashed together side by side, although it's not quite as tall. But yeah, it's quite a lot of heatsink area for a GPU too, so it does stay quite cool. And that heatsink is also cooled off by these fans. So these are first D fans, although I couldn't take it off right now, but trust me, they're first D fans, and they connect to these splitters that connect to the modular connectors housing, which lets you take off the fan in one screw and slide it back in one screw. And this thing connects to the GPU, and there's also the RGB module over here, which I've taken off, and this thing connects also to the GPU on the top here, and that controls the RGB lighting. And yeah, the fans are quite large, so you can see it spans the entire card length, and although the card is a bit smaller than it is, Sapphire actually does use more heatsink area on this space, so it's not actually just a useless extension. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. This card is pretty extreme for an RX 580, and especially for a mid-range card. So yeah, here's the cooling system for the VRM2. Basically the fins are kind of soldered on to this metal plate, which connects to the VRM using thermal pads, and that should cool off the VRM quite well. But yeah, you know, here's the GPU as well. It's a Polaris 10 GPU, which AMD has rebranded as Polaris 20, but you know, it's basically the same thing. So yeah, except it's been bent and kind of the process kind of matured, so it does reach higher overclocks compared to RX 480s. And you could also see that 580s generally have a higher stock clock speed than 480s, so that's the reason for why AMD rebranded it. It's more like a refresh, kind of like Haswell to Haswell refresh, or where they have the Devil's Canyon card CPUs, or they overclock more consistently and also higher. It's kind of that kind of thing, that kind of refresh. So I mean, for the same price as before, I would just take it. I don't have a problem with this rebranding. And anyways, Nvidia hasn't launched the GTX 1100 series anyway, so it's not actually a rebranding for the next generation. It's just a refresh for the current generation from AMD. But yeah, you know, from my early testing, this card's pretty good. I haven't tried it on water yet, but yeah, we shall see. I'll definitely be making a video of it, since I'll be sticking a water cooler on this GPU, on 2 of them, and putting it on my PC. So yeah, that's it for this unboxing, and kind of like a teardown and analysis of the PCB and also the cooler. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please leave a like, and please click subscribe to see more of my videos. Thanks for watching.